Hi, my name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law. Please subscribe to our channel. We were asked to discuss by one of our viewing audience members the interplay between a child's First Amendment right and custody. The question basically said, if a kid has a right to freedom of expression, why can't he be heard in a custody battle? And the question presupposes certain things which are fundamentally wrong. First of all, it's not really a question of First Amendment. The First Amendment that gives people, freedom of speech and all that, basically says that you're not going to be put in jail for expressing yourself because you have a right to that freedom of expression. In a custody battle, nobody's saying a child doesn't have a right to his expression, particularly about which parent I may or may want to be with. The question is, what does the trier of fact, how does the judge weigh out the value of that expression of preference in determining the custody? Now, certainly if the child is old enough under the law to express a preference, the court can take it into account. So it's not really about the rights. Does the child have a right? Yeah, he's got the right, but whether or not it resonates with the court, that's a completely different discussion that has to do with the court's statutory duty to analyze what's in the best interest of the child. So I don't think if the court doesn't side with the view of the child, that means the court violated that person's right of expression. You can express whatever you want. It just doesn't mean that other people are going to be guided by it. And so too with custody situations. A person can express themselves one way or another, but remember one thing, there's always a consequence. Sometimes the consequence is the court doesn't care. Sometimes the consequence is the court does care. A parent can say, I have a right to religious expression. So since I have a right to religious expression, if I'm a different religion than the father, what does that mean that the court can, pick one or the other, lose custody? Well, the answer is like this. You may have a right to religious expression as a couple, and the two of you can work it out. But if you cannot work out the custody and you go to a judge and you tell the guy in the black robe, look, I'm Jewish, he's a Catholic, we can't work it out. You pick. Well, what do you think is going to happen? The court it can't split the child in half, so the court is going to have to do what's in the best interest of the child. And should the court decide that the child should be raised by one parent of one faith, different than another, that doesn't in any way interfere with your right of freedom to believe whatever you want. It's not that at all. It's just that there's a price to pay for that. And the price to pay is the court's got to determine what's in the best interest of the child. So if you have raised your child for many years to be of one faith, and now there's a custody battle and you're saying, well, I want the child to come with me. What's the difference if I practice a different faith? Well, there is no difference except for the fact that the court's going to look at what the stability factor is for the child. And if all of a sudden the child is being pressed into another faith, then the court has to consider whether or not it's in the best interest of the child to put the child in that environment. So yes, you have freedom of religious expression. Do whatever you want. But understand, there's always a price to pay. Much like you have a right to say whatever you want about a person, but if you go over the line, you can be sued for defamation. In other words, that's the price you pay for that. It doesn't mean, when we talk about freedom of expression, it doesn't mean that you can do it and carte blanche, you get whatever you want, and there's no reckoning. It just means that the state is not going to confine you for expressing your political view, your religious view, your personal view, but understand that if it sheds light on something that goes to the best interest of the child, the court will take it into account. If you have any questions about that, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.